Okay, I've got the Philadelphia Eagles depth chart up here, and I'll just go through the roster, each position, just give my thoughts on just the players and the team overall as a whole. So the first position, receiver, it's not horrible. I mean, it was so bad last year because people were just getting injured and just bad play from veterans like Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey. So I think they will be better this year. They got Travis Fulgham, who's kind of a breakout type of receiver there. I don't think he's amazing. He's kind of more of a jump ball, contested catch receiver. Not really a speed threat, but I think he could still be a good number two receiver. Probably on most teams, he'd probably be a number four, but a really good number four. So I like it. Jalen Rager, I think he got too much hate last year. Like, come on, it's his rookie year. He didn't have good quarterback play. I mean, the whole receiver position just wasn't good. So I think maybe Jalen Rager can have a good year this year. I think it's definitely possible. So I like Jalen Rager. I think he could be a really good deep threat, and hopefully he has a good year because or else Eagles fans will just kick him out like they do every other player. And then Devontae Smith, I think that's a really good pickup, really good draft pick, really good receiver, just good all round player, really good winning routes and everything. So I do like that. Jalen Rager probably in the slot, these two on the outside. There's three receivers looking pretty good, and then they got some depth like Quez Watkins and John Hightower, two kind of deep threats. So they got a lot of deep threats like Quez Watkins and John Hightower. They're pretty speedy. Like John Hightower, maybe taking that fourth or fifth role. I mean, Greg Ward, he's pretty decent backup in the slot for whoever plays there. Like they have Devontae Smith listed there. I'm pretty sure Jalen Rager would start there because Devontae Smith can probably play more outside, and that's what he did play. So Greg Ward being the backup slot, I think he's very good at that, so that's fine. And then John Hightower, Quez Watkins, yeah, they're pretty good backups, so that's all right. And JJ Arcega-Whiteside, kind of a bust, but it's still pretty decent depth. And then I think Trayvon Grimes has a good chance to make the roster, being a bigger receiver, just kind of contested catcher. So he has a chance to make the roster, maybe just a practice squad or the first year, but he could be pretty decent. And then the offensive line, they got Andre Dillard coming back. Hopefully he'll step into tackle. But Jordan Mailata was pretty decent last year, so maybe they roll with Jordan Mailata. But I would think that they go with the younger player to see if he still has something in him because he's kind of just been plagued by injuries so far in his career, kind of unlucky. But I mean, Jordan Mailata did play very well for his first year of actually playing. Jeez, what is this, bro? Actually playing tackle. I mean, he was a rugby player, so that's pretty promising. Maybe you just roll out with the best player so you can win in camp, and that's probably what they'll have to do. So it's pretty intriguing. And then left guard, Isaac Sumalu is not that bad at left guard. He's pretty average though. I mean, their offensive line looking pretty good. They have Landon Dickerson listed at guard. He could definitely start over Isaac Sumalu straight away. Maybe not straight away because of his injury. He might not be able to. But I would think that he definitely could start over Isaac Sumalu because they got Jason Kelsey at center who's not going away this year. I think maybe next year Jason Kelsey's gone and Landon Dickerson can step into that center position because, I mean, Landon Dickerson is an amazing center. So he'd probably take over that role from Jason Kelsey. But you don't just draft Landon Dickerson with your first pick in the second round pretty high up. I think it was like pick 36 for him to sit on the bench for behind Isaac Sumalu. So I'm pretty sure he would probably play guard for them. Right guard, Brandon Brooks. Hopefully he comes back. Still a really good guard. Definitely declined a bit, but still very good. So that's good. Nick Herbig's also a pretty decent backup. He was good at points. When he came in replacing Brandon Brooks, he was pretty reliable. So that's a promising backup. Lane Johnson at right tackle, if he's healthy also. It's like Brandon Brooks and Lane Johnson just not been healthy for quite a long time. I mean, they just get injured every single year. But I mean, if these three players are, I mean, these two players pretty much, Jason Kelsey doesn't really get injured, but if these two are healthy, their O line could be very good next year, and that could be very good for whoever the quarterback is. I mean, for the backups, they don't really got much, like Jack Driscoll. I mean, Coyote Awosika, I cannot say his name, from Buffalo. He's a pretty good athlete. Like, he's a very raw player. But I think you could maybe have something there. Like, he could surprise people if he comes in because he's just has that potential. And tight end, Zach Ertz. Don't know if he's still going to be there for the Eagles. They could trade him, but it's getting probably a bit late, and his value is probably not very good now for a tight end. This is kind of his plays dropped off. He's not the same top 5 tight end that he was before. Still a reliable player. Like, he can still probably give you better play. But I think Dallas Goedert is probably their best tight end on the roster. He'd probably take more of that number 1 role like he did last year. He really transformed into that really good tight end. He could definitely be a top 5 tight end in the league. I think he could be in that just because there's not really a lot of amazing tight ends. Like, you got Darren Waller, I was about to say Jason Kelce, Travis Kelce, George Kittle. You don't got much else. So Dallas Goedert, I think, could be a top 5 tight end in the league. So that's a very good tight end. They've got a good receiving threat in him also. And I mean, the backup, Jason Crooms, pretty decent third tight end, so that's fine. And then there's got some like good athletes. I mean, Jack Stoll's a pretty decent undrafted pickup. He's a very good blocker, so he can make the roster. Caleb Wilson, probably not. Hakeem Butler, changed from receiver. I don't know. He might not even make the roster. He is pretty athletic because he was a receiver. And then Tyree Jackson, who was a freaking quarterback tight end. So, I mean, there's going to be a battle for that 4th tight end role, definitely. And then the 5th, maybe. Or they just cut all 3 of them. So it's very intriguing there. And then, as it just reloads, quarterback position. Jalen Hurts. Yeah, just try. I like it. I mean, I think it's better than, especially when you got a team like the Eagles, who on paper don't really look like they're gonna be able to compete that much. They could be surprising if Jalen Hurts is good. So I just feel like you just roll with Jalen Hurts. Why not? If he's trash, then you got a good pick next year to pick a quarterback. Like, I think it's worth taking a shot on him. And then if Jalen Hurts is actually good, then at least you know you've got yourself a good quarterback. So you just want to see what you have in Jalen Hurts because he wasn't amazing last year. He had some promising play, which you can't be like, oh yes, he could maybe repeat that next year, the good play that he did have. But even at the minimum, he'll give you a good rushing threat, which will expand his play more. So we'll just have to see with Jalen Hurts. He can maybe have a good year. And Joe Flacco's a pretty decent backup. Just a veteran presence, really. Hopefully maybe coach up Jalen Hurts in the passing game a bit. I mean, I could probably see Joe Flacco getting some playing time this year. He might start some games, which probably won't be amazing for the Eagles. At least it's better than other players they could have backing up. And also Jamie Newman, undrafted. His stock just dramatically fell. You could maybe have somebody there that is pretty similar player to Jalen Hurts. And then running back, Miles Sanders, still a pretty reliable running back, so I like that. He's a good running back. Probably needs to step up a bit. Like, last year wasn't like that amazing, but he did have some injuries. So hopefully he has a breakout year maybe. This offensive line is healthy also. He definitely could. Boston Scott's a good backup, good complementary player. I mean, they're both good pass catchers. Boston Scott, that's like primarily his role. Doesn't really run the ball that much. He's just really good in the passing game. Kerryon Johnson could actually get a pretty decent amount of playing time. Because, I mean, he was pretty good when he got a chance in Detroit. So I like that. Like, his rookie year was amazing. So I think that's a pretty decent 3rd running back, or 2nd probably. Jordan Howard, I mean, he just hasn't really been good for the past 2 years. And Kenneth Gainwell will probably be that versatile player. He can play receiver and running back. I think he got some significant amount of playing time, especially where they're drafting pretty early. They're going to have to use him quite a lot of different ways. You could use him in the slot, probably not the outside as much, but definitely running back, out of the backfield. It's going to be very intriguing how they use him, so that'll be interesting to see. And then going on to defense, we'll start on the defensive line. Derek Barnett, you hope he can maybe take a step up, kind of break out. He hasn't really done that yet. Like, he's not been bad. He's been pretty serviceable as a edge rusher. Just hasn't really, broken out yet. So I think hopefully he does that. Ryan Kerrigan's a good backup, good veteran, so I like that. And they got him for pretty decent money. And the other defensive end, Brandon Graham, still pretty good edge rusher, like pretty underrated now. He was still good last year, probably winding down to like his last couple years. Maybe this could be his last year. But Josh Sweat could maybe take over in the future. I think he's a pretty good player. Like when he got a chance, which was kind of a bit limited last year, but he was very good with the snaps that he did get. So I think that's very intriguing. Even Tyron Jackson, good athlete from Coastal Carolina. That could be a good rotational player. Like they got good rotational players in the defensive line. They're pretty deep. They got Patrick Johnson listed outside linebacker. I was looking for him. Patrick Johnson's an edge rusher. What the heck is this shit? This is freaking stupid. Patrick Johnson probably could be their second best probably not second best, like third best edge rusher. Could maybe take over that role in the future, or maybe replace Brandon Graham or Derek Barnett. Like I think he's a very good player. Like he's had a lot of production at Tulane, so that's a bit weird they have him listed outside linebacker. I mean, the interior defensive line, Javon Hargrave, they gave him a big contract. Maybe you hope he can play a bit better than he did last year. Like he still has some good play, just probably didn't live up to that contract. Fletcher Cox, still a really good player. So that's a good run stopper and pass rusher, just very good at both, very solid player. Even Milton Williams, probably more of a future player. Like he can play defensive end also because he's an amazing athlete. That's a good versatile player. I think Milton Williams in the future, like he's got all the traits to be a really good pass rusher in the league, or just primarily defensive tackle. You'll see if he puts on weight or something, or changes to edge rusher, because he can play both. He's just a monster. Even Marlon Tuipuloho was a good draft pick. That was a very good draft pick at the point. You get yourself a good run stopper in Tuipuloho. That would really help out. You put him in those maybe early downs, goal line. I think he can plug up some gaps and stuff. Son Ridgeway, also pretty good pickup. Same with Willie Henry. You just take a shot on somebody like that. And then they also got Jenner Avery, who's more of a pass rusher. That's pretty decent. Another good rotational player. Like they got a lot of depth at their defensive end. Davion Taylor, he can probably play linebacker primarily. He can play pass rush also. Probably just going to be a linebacker on the roster because they're pretty thin there. TJ Edwards, he might have to start. Their linebacker position not looking amazing. It could be TJ Edwards and Eric Wilson. It will definitely be Eric Wilson, I think. They picked him up from Minnesota. He was pretty good last year. Had a good season for Minnesota, so I think he probably has to start because they don't got nobody at linebacker. Alex Singleton's actually okay. He's kind of like a box safety pretty much, but just a bigger one. So I mean, he's pretty decent, I guess. He's not amazing. None of their players are really good. They got some young talent, like maybe Alex Singleton and TJ Edwards break out. One of them turns into a really good player, like maybe TJ Edwards. Eric Wilson kind of be that more of a veteran player, and Sean Bradley is kind of the only other backup. They do have Jacoby Stevens listed at linebacker. He could definitely play that. He's probably going to play box safety, so you can maybe take up a lot of that linebacker role. I think that'd be a good idea because he's a pretty good box safety, so I did like that draft pick. I think they could use him pretty well. And the cornerback position, not amazing. I mean, you got Darius Slay, of course. Wasn't amazing last year. Kind of got destroyed by players like DK Metcalf. But he's still a solid corner. It's a really hard position to play, so can't give him too much hate. And Avonte Maddox, he's still pretty decent, so that's alright. He can also play the slot. I think that was the thing that they were saying, that he's going to play the slot or something. I think you probably should keep him on the outside because you got some slot corners and you don't really got any other outside corners. So I'd probably keep Avonte Maddox on the outside. Him with Darius Slay could be pretty decent. They probably did need another cornerback. They probably should have drafted an outside corner. They don't really got a lot of players that can really start. Like Lavert Hill might start. That's a possibility. Probably more of a backup. I wouldn't start him. Same with Kayvon Seymour. He's a decent backup for the slot. Could maybe start there, but I think they're probably just backups, those two players. I think Zach McPherson has a good chance to start in the slot. They drafted him from Texas Tech. He was a very good slot corner. Some people really liked him. So I think he has a chance to maybe take up in the slot. I think if that is their three corners, that's not looking too bad because it's kind of the backups. Like Josiah Scott, who they actually brought in, is a pretty good like young corner. So I did like that pickup. I think you can maybe have a good young player that could develop and maybe take the outside role. He could start on the outside. It's like they could go so many different ways. Like somebody might just really impress them. I think maybe Zach McPherson in the slot, and then Maddox and Slay, because Zach McPherson is just primarily a slot corner. You can't really play outside, and then you also got Michael Jaquet, who's kind of a backup. And safety, Anthony Harris, who they brought in, is probably gonna take that. Well, will take that strong safety role. That's a good player to get for a 1 year contract. He's probably just going there to like kind of get paid a lot next year when the money goes up. He didn't want to take a big contract this year when, to be honest, people really weren't. So he just took like a pretty cheap contract for him. So I did like that pickup. He'll definitely improve your secondary. Andrew Adams to back him up, pretty decent backup from Tampa. Marcus Epps, he's not gonna. Why do they have Ronnie McClown listed at their third safety? Like, what are you doing, our lad? You're so stupid. Freaking Ronnie McClown isn't your third safety. And where's the other stupid one? Patrick Johnson isn't your freaking outside linebacker, fourth player behind Eric Wilson and Alex Singleton. He's a freaking edge rusher. So stupid. Like Ronnie McClown's gonna start at free safety. He's still pretty decent. Getting older. I was very surprised. I thought he was like really young. I guess not. But you got Kayvon Wallace. I think it'd be a good replacement in the future. I do like Kayvon Wallace. He can also play a bit of box because he's pretty big. So I think that's a good backup. Like their safety depth is pretty good. Elijah Riley and Marcus Epps also pretty decent backups. More special teamers. So their secondary's got some talent. I just don't know how like good they'll really be. Like Avonte Maddox kind of just average. Darius Slay still good at older. One of these dudes like Zach McPherson and Josiah Scott could definitely break out. That's kind of the only players. And then like Kayvon Wallace. So they got some promising players. And then like the other players on the defense, like that's just stupid thing, bro. Yeah, I mean, defensive line very deep. I like it. I think they'll have a pretty decent pass rush. Kind of just the linebacker position is not amazing. I mean, offense, quarterback position, that's kind of be the biggest thing for them. If they'll be a good team, they could probably be a good team if the quarterback plays well. But then if the quarterback doesn't, they're probably not going to be because, I mean, everything just kind of depends on that. Running back position good. Offensive line, if they're healthy, also they could have a really good offensive line, better than last year, of course, which is everybody got injured, and the backups just couldn't really do much besides some players. So if they're healthy, like if this whole team's healthy next year, which they just haven't really been in a while, they could be pretty dangerous. Receiver also, they got some good young talent, some really good deep threats, some jump ball receivers and Trayvon Grimes, Travis Fulgham. You got some good backups, like good slot receivers, Greg Ward, Jalen Rager, of course, Devontae Smith. So I like this. And I mean, that's the Eagles. I think they could be good. I mean, it's just really going to depend on injuries again. They might be good or they might be bad.